What's up, guys? Toad back with you. Yet another morning. Isn't it great? I got a headache. I'm on no sleep. This is awesome. My bet last night on the Jacksonville Jaguars looked as bad as possible. I don't understand what's going on with the Jacksonville Jaguars, man. I thought that was the spot to take them. Motivation to avoid the 0-3 start. Buffalo had it sandwiched in between two bigger games. This is just... Maybe Jacksonville actually is just terrible. I have no idea. It got to the point where they were down by like 30 points. They're just like, let's put Mac Jones and see what happens. And he looked like he was still on the New England Patriots. I mean, he is Mac Jones. And he gets like strip sacked, fumbles the ball over on the first play or something. I was not watching it at that point. That game was unwatchable. I thought that was the game that would draw more viewers, even though I did say I liked the other game to be high scoring, and I was right about that. So the over certainly cashed on that Washington-Cincinnati game. That was a much more interesting game, exciting game. Cincinnati, I expected them to win, and then it looked like they were going to have a chance to at the end, but they had put themselves in such a big hole. They cut it to 5. They got in scoring range, and I believe they missed a field goal. Is that right? I don't remember what it was, but they... seemed like they were going to be able to do something late, and they wound up down 6, and then they couldn't come up with a defensive stop. Jaden Daniels made a couple of massively clutch plays. He was excellent yesterday. This rookie QB class, man, Caleb Williams, the number 1 overall pick, I think he's the worst of the quarterbacks, and I don't even think it's close. He's terrible. And the fact that he has a horrific offensive line isn't helping either, but I think he's the worst of them by far, and I think Jaden Daniels is the best. And Bo Nix is looking like he's coming around as well. Jaden Daniels, that was a great performance from him last night, man. This Washington offense, they could be doing something. I think they have Cliff Kingsbury as the offensive coordinator there. I mean, he sucks as a head coach. He was terrible in Arizona, but he's an offensive genius, which he was when he was at Texas Tech, I believe is where he was, and he has continued to be one in the NFL when given the opportunity to do so. I don't know if Sam from Black Flag Podcast is in the chat. I know right at the end of the show yesterday, he wanted me to mention Sam Darnold. I mean, I don't know if there's a whole lot to say about that. I was surprised that Minnesota was able to win that game so easily. Minnesota's defense must be quite good to hold Houston down like that, because Houston's offense certainly could score. I was surprised about that. I thought it was a bad spot for Minnesota coming off the huge San Francisco win, and they have Green Bay up next, so I kind of expected a worse performance out of them in that game. That was not the case. Sam Darnold specifically wasn't really lighting it up. I mean, he's in there. He's not making mistakes. He's making plays when he needs to, but people are acting like he's having this huge rebirth, and I think it's more like the team and the coaching around him is just really good right now. But he didn't do that much in that game. He had right around 50% completion percentage, barely above 50% and below 200 yards. That game wasn't really him. Jones ran all over the place. The offense was just strategically doing really well in that game. So I don't know what else to say about that. But let's look at today. I am going to have one play in baseball, even though it's going to be a play where I have to make I have to pay more for it because I missed the best number on it. It's continuing to go down. We can talk about other games here. I mean, there are a lot of games with playoff implications here, man. I don't know. Maybe I can run these down really quickly because I don't know what else to really say about this. I mean, you have Cubs, Philadelphia. They played yesterday to start the series, and I think the Cubs actually won the game. No, Philly won. Never mind. It was a low-scoring game, though, like I thought. For some reason, I thought the Cubs had won, but the Cubs went with an opener approach, a bullpen game yesterday, and now it's Philadelphia's turn with Tanner Banks listed as a starter. I think he's going to be an opener. That's going to be a bullpen game up against Justin Steele, who has been a decent starting pitcher. I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say about that game. I'll just let you know that Philadelphia is going with an opener approach there. And Chicago's eliminated, but Philadelphia is also sitting with a big lead in the NL East. So there's not a whole lot of motivation going on there, really, I wouldn't say. You got Milwaukee, Pittsburgh here. Pittsburgh obviously has nothing left to play for him. Bailey Falter is not a good pitcher, so I was looking at potentially playing Milwaukee in this one because I'm like, oh, Tobias Myers. But then I look, Tobias Myers actually has faced Pittsburgh this year, even though it is Tobias Myers' rookie year. He's a good rookie pitcher. he did well. He's faced Pittsburgh twice, actually. He faced them in his opening start, his first start ever, his major league debut. He went 5 innings and gave up 1 run against Pittsburgh. And then his other start, I think it was like a 7-inning shutout or something like that against Pittsburgh, or 6-inning, maybe, whatever it was. He's put together 2 really good starts against Pittsburgh. Maybe what that tells you is that because that second time out he still did well, that he actually has good enough stuff that he overcomes the fact that Pittsburgh knew what he was going to throw at them that next time and was kind of used to him at that point. So that does tell me something about Myers. I think he is a pretty good pitcher, so he probably has a little bit of the upper hand in that game. However, Bailey Falter, even though his numbers aren't that good, he does not falter against Milwaukee. He actually has good numbers against Milwaukee as well. So both starting pitchers look like they match up well against the opposing offenses. So I would look to an under in this game. Total down a little bit from 8, juiced to the over, to a little bit less juiced to the over. You see 60% of the tickets coming in on the over. I mean, the public's going to be coming in and playing it over on a Milwaukee game if they play a total on this. But it looks like 74% of the cash is on the under. I do like the under in that one. But Milwaukee, I mean, it's kind of a question as far as, like, how motivated are they really? I mean, they did just get a win to avoid the sweep in that series against Arizona, but they looked like they lost some motivation after they clinched their division, even though they still should be probably fighting for seeding, although I don't know how far behind, like, the Dodgers they are, so I don't know if they really care that much about that. Mets, Atlanta, this is a big game, one of the biggest games on the board. Big wild card battle here. Severino against Schwellenbach. I prefer Schwellenbach in this game. He's still an under-the-radar pitcher because he's a rookie, man. He's been pitching well. 3.61 ERA, 1.1 whip, putting up really good numbers this season. 118 to 22 strikeout walk ratio and 99 hits allowed in 109 and 2/3 innings. All of those numbers are good. High strikeout rate, not a high walk rate, not a high hit allowed rate. This month, 3.18 ERA, 16.4 strikeout walk ratio. Looking good again. Has not allowed more than 3 earned runs in any start this month. Schwellenbach, I mean, overall, you're looking at just really good stuff, having a really good rookie season. The only question is he going to wear down as we get late into the season? I don't know. I mean, his stats against the Mets are also really good. I think this is probably one start against the Mets. So the Mets, they will be a little bit more familiar with him this time out. So I don't expect him to completely dominate like this again, but still, he has held them to a 1-for-21 performance with 11 strikeouts and no walks. He's struck them out in more than half of the at-bats that they faced him. 0.48 average and 143 OPS. And that's the type of domination that even if these guys do become more familiar with facing him, I don't know that it's going to change that much. Like, I don't expect him to be terrible in this game by any means at all. I actually leaned to the Atlanta side in this one. So, yeah, he had that one. That was this game. 7-inning, 2-hit, 11 strikeout shutout against the Mets on the road the other time that he faced him. So, Schwellenbach, I mean, he's been good. I'm also not that concerned with him wearing down, really, because he didn't start pitching this season until late May, so he's not pitched the full season. So, as a rookie, that number of innings may not have piled up quite enough, even though he is over 100 now, which is kind of considered by some guys to be like the threshold where rookies start kind of tiring. He's not shown signs of that really so far, so I would not think that would be happening yet. So I think he is fine in that regard. Luis Severino's on the other side. He's having a good season as well for the Mets. 3.79 ERA, 1.22 whip is not bad. 156 to 59 strikeout walk ratio. So his strikeout rate has gone down. He has been more of a strikeout pitcher in the past, so I don't know if his arm is just getting weaker with age because he's in his 30s now, but that strikeout rate has significantly dropped from years past. 59 walks isn't that great either. 22 home runs allowed, not that great either. 159 hits in 178 innings is good. So he has not been that easily hittable, which is good. I mean, he's been pitching well over the last month, too, with a 2.81 ERA. This month, 25 to 7 strikeout walk ratio. Has not allowed more than 3 earned runs in any start, and both of those were against Philadelphia. So he's been pitching well as well. And I think up against Atlanta, his stats are decent as well. Yeah, in 75 at-bats, he's held them to a 240 average and 681 OPS. So even though I like the Schwellenbach side a little bit more because I think he's the slightly better pitcher, this is a situation where Atlanta is probably the more motivated team, but they may have more pressure on them. We do see some market movement on the Atlanta side, up from minus 125 to minus 140. 51% of tickets with 72% of the cash on Atlanta. Public kind of off of Atlanta because the Mets are the team with the better record. Mets have been playing better recently. Atlanta, they have too many offensive injuries, Rose, so their offense is kind of sputtered a little bit as we get down the stretch, but we'll see, because Atlanta, they need this game more than the Mets do, but both of these teams need it, man, for wild card purposes. So the pressure is there on both sides, even though it is more on the Atlanta side. I do think Atlanta has a little bit of an edge in the starting pitching matchup here with Schwellenbach, but Severino by no means is bad at all. So I actually lean to an under in this one as well. It's sitting at 8 juice to the over, 61% of the tickets on the over, but 59% of the cash on the under. So I lean to the Atlanta side there as well. It looks like the market is indicating on it, and I also like the under in that one. And I like the under in this late game between the Padres and the Dodgers, which is a good game, but the Dodgers more or less, I think, have wrapped up the division at this point, and San Diego more or less has wrapped up a wild card at this point. So I don't know that there's that much as far as playoff implications in this game. It is a big game as far as it's a big divisional matchup, and it's actually a good starting pitching matchup. So I actually lean to the under in this game too, and the market looks like it's sort of indicating on the under to some extent too with Michael King. He's pitching well throughout the course of the season as well, but he seems to be kind of
wearing down maybe a little bit because he's still kind of on the young side and he throws really hard. And when you throw that hard for this entire season, you can start waning a little bit. And I think we've seen a little bit of that from King, but he's still pitching pretty well. Landon Knack on the other side for the Dodgers is a young pitcher who's starting to turn it around, man. I think he might still be a rookie right now. I don't even know if he has thrown enough innings to qualify. I always say rookie just for somebody who's in their first season, but I think you need enough innings to qualify as a rookie, but Knack has actually gotten his stats way down as well. He has a pretty good ERA in the threes, a very low whip as well, and I think San Diego has barely ever seen him before. I think they have one or two hitters who may have faced him before. So I like the under in this one too more than I like a side. So I love unders, man. What can you say? My play today is also going to be on an under. So, man, I'm loving the unders. What can I say? You can call me the Undertaker. Yeah, Knack has only been faced by Nick Ahmed, who's 0 for 2 off of him. So essentially, San Diego has never seen him before. Their best hitters have never seen him before. Michael King on the other side has, I think, done okay against the Dodgers. Let me see. He's held them in 87 at bats to a 241 average and 818 OPS. The OPS have been on the higher side, actually, because he's walked 9 of them and he's allowed 7 home runs to them, which isn't good. But, of course, Shohei Ohtani specifically destroys him with 3 of those 7 home runs, and Mookie Betts has 2 of them. So outside of those 2 guys, it's a little bit of a different story. But I don't know, man. Yeah, and Mookie Betts, we can talk about the Red Sox in a little bit, but that Dodgers game reminds me of the 2018 Red Sox World Series win over the Dodgers, man, because the Dodgers still have Max Muncy there, who I think was on their team back then, and the Red Sox have literally nobody left from that 2018 team. Mookie Betts, I don't understand how they let him go like that. He's on the Dodgers, obviously, and Mookie Betts, yeah, Red Sox could use a guy like that right now. I think the only player left literally on the entire Red Sox roster from that season is Rafael Devers, and he's hurt. He's been shut down for the season. It's just so bad. The Red Sox do have Jansen on their team, but they shut him down too. They're one of their best relief pitchers, Kenley Jansen. I think he was on the Dodgers at the time that season. He's been shut down as well. What's up, Dickie? Playing with the worm, you're jacking off while watching Better Off Dead. That's great. More Better Off Dead than Tower Game. Well, that's not a surprise because there's way more Better Off Dead content than Tower Game. This is a daily show, brother. Basically, 2 of my episodes amount to one Tower Game episode. Tower Game is only once a week, so I don't know what else to say about that. But I like the under in that one, although in the San Diego Dodgers game. But the Dodgers, I mean, they do really, they have a few hitters that can really get to King, so seems a little dangerous to me. Baltimore is playing the Yankees, another big divisional matchup as we cross over to the AL section here. I mean, I think Clark Schmidt probably has the upper hand in this one, but you're not really getting much of a value play if you play the Yankees here. They're down from minus 155 to minus 152. 84% of the tickets and 95% of the cash on the Yankees. Hard to read that market, really. They're public. Looks like they do have more of the cash, but the line has gone down on them. I think Clark Schmidt is probably the preferable starter to Dean Kremer here, even though I'm not really much of a fan of either of them. Clark Schmidt has actually been turning his season around. His numbers are actually really good this season. 2.37 ERA, 1.17 whip on the season. So, I was saying last year that he was not pitching well, which was true, but he's really turned it around, and he's done well against Baltimore, which this is not Baltimore, is it? This says this is what he is against Oakland. I don't know what's going on here, man. No, I think that was actually against Baltimore, right? I don't even know. Yeah, there it is. So 82 at bats. He's held him to a 195 batting average and 595 OPS. Santander, he's held him a bit in check as well. So, yeah, so we are looking at Baltimore there. So, Schmidt actually has really good numbers against Baltimore. So he's the preferred side in this one over Kremer, who just has the worst overall numbers. I make fun of him a lot, although the 4.19 ERA and 1.25 whip is not that terrible, really. But he's worse than Schmidt is this season. His numbers against the Yankees aren't as good either. In 121 at-bats, he's held them to a 273 average, but a pretty high 846 OPS because 11 walks and 8 home runs allowed there. But Aaron Judge and Alex Verdugo have crushed him and combined for 5 of those home runs. So that is the situation there. My slight lean in that one, I guess, would be to the Yankees side, but Baltimore is getting an underdog price, a fairly substantial underdog price, and they need the game more, sort of. But I don't think either team is in danger here either. This is actually kind of similar to San Diego Dodgers, where you have the top team in the league. Dodgers and Yankees are the top teams in the respective leagues. They're not going to lose their division up against a division foe who is leading the wild card race, San Diego and Baltimore. That is the case with both of them. So kind of an eerily similar type of matchup there, except the Baltimore Yankees one probably has less good pitching than the San Diego Dodgers one. And then what else we got? We have Seattle, Houston. Houston's also, that's kind of similar too, with Houston leading the division. Another divisional matchup here. Seattle fighting to stay alive in the wild card race. Houston up from minus 131 to minus 133. 7% of the tickets on them, 82% of the cash. Yeah, the underdog. I'm the underdog taker and the undertaker, man. I like taking underdogs and unders because the public tends to be on favorites and overs. So that's just kind of the way that I go, man. My first reaction is to go against the public because I think that's where you tend to get more value. So I do tend to look that way more often than not. This is Logan Gilbert against Framber Valdez. 2 pitchers who have been pretty good, but they actually both have really bad numbers against these opposing lineups. Logan Gilbert does not have good numbers against Houston, and Framber Valdez has actually allowed more than the 300 batting average in his career against Seattle's hitters. I don't know how, because Seattle's offense isn't even that good, but I would not want to play an under in that matchup. I would actually lean to the over in this one, with the total being so low here, 7. Usually, and I'm going to be playing on an under and a low total. In baseball, you do tend to want to play under low totals and over high totals just because that's the way it works, because the odds makers know what they're doing, man, and they're not going to throw up a low total unless they really are indicating, yeah, we think that this is going to be a low-scoring game, or like a high total unless they think, yeah, this is going to be a high-scoring game. Like, they always throw up a ridiculously high total in these Colorado Coors Field games, and I tend to just stay away from them, but a lot of them do still go over the 10, 11 totals. In this one, though, I think, again, I mentioned this yesterday, I think that the odds makers and the betting market don't factor in the specific pitching versus hitting matchups as much as they should, and I do. That's something that I look at in every game. I get up in the morning and I look at how does this starting pitcher do versus these opposing hitters, man. And in this one, I think it's not being factored into this line, so I do like the over in that one. It looks like the market kind of agrees with me, even though it's gone down a little bit on the total. I see 67% of the tickets on the under, but 50% of the cash evenly split, basically, under and over. So that does look like the cash discrepancy is actually on the over in that one. And just because both of those pitchers suck, like I said, against the opposing hitters, I actually do lean that way. And then we got, what else do we got here? Well, Kansas City, I mean, this is the other game with major playoff implications, wild card race. Kansas City if they're going to break a loss streak, it's going to be in this game, man. But do I want to play? Do I want to pay this huge price to take Kansas City in this game? I don't really. Kansas City, I don't want to step in front of this train either. Kansas City has lost 7 games in a row, dude. So it's gotten to the point where they're still in second place in their division behind Cleveland, but they're only, I think, 1 game ahead of Minnesota right now, or 1 game ahead of Detroit, maybe, whichever one is ahead. It's like a cluster. All the teams are within like 2 games of each other. They're Kansas City, Minnesota, Detroit. One of those teams is not going to make the playoffs, and I think the other 2 will, along with Baltimore. Kansas City, they could have wrapped it up, and they've lost so many games recently. I don't know what's going on with them, man, but if anything's gonna help them avoid losing again, it's going to be with their ace on the hill, Cole Reagans here. And they're facing Washington, who are pretty bad offensively, and Cole Reagans has actually never been seen before by Washington's hitters. So there are a lot of advantages that Kansas City has in this game with the starting pitching matchup here. Reagans being a really good pitcher who hasn't been seen before by Washington, that's got to be an extra edge to him. But you're paying a huge price for this, up from -150 to -164. I don't want to do that with a public road favorite of that price on Kansas City. 95% of the tickets and 96% of the cash. They're unbelievably public because everybody knows they need to win, man, to maintain this wild card lead here and make sure that they get into the playoffs. The pressure is mounting on Kansas City, and they look like they're kind of cracking under it with so many losses in a row. It's kind of been wild to see. And, of course, in that stretch, they must have lost 1 Cole Reagan start in there, too. Mitchell Parker is pitching for Washington. He's a rookie, and I think he basically has not been seen before by Kansas City's hitters either, but he is the much less trustworthy of these 2 pitchers, and he's been starting to falter over the later part of the season. 4.44 ERA, 1.30 whip. He was pitching well earlier in the season, but I think he's started to tire out a little bit, even though I don't think he's really that much of a hard thrower. And then we've gotten to a point where this month his ERA is 5.59. So I can't trust him nearly as much as I trust Reagan's. 19-7 strikeout walk ratio. You'd think that maybe with both pitchers being kind of unfamiliar to the opposing hitters, you'd want to look to an under here, but I trust Reagan. I trust Parker, so little that I don't want to do that. And Kansas City does have 4 at-bats worth against him between DeJong and Pham, and they're 2 for 4 off of him with no strikeouts and a walk, so very small sample size. I don't think there's anything you can really gather from that, but that is what's going on there. Dean Crema, yeah. I should enter Boston Toad mode again. The game I'm going to be on before I get out of here is the other game that does have wild card implications. I think Tampa is actually not eliminated yet. I think they're still in the wild card race. I'm going under in Tampa Bay, Detroit. This is a great pitching match. This is the best pitching matchup on the board, so it's no secret that this is going to be a low total here, and it is quite low, and it's dropped to the point where you have to pay -120 to get it. At under 7, it's 6.5 at a lot of places now, and like I say in baseball, you want to still get this under 7. It's worth paying the extra, maybe up to 120. I don't know if I'd want to pay that much more for it to get the under 7, because 7 is a key number in baseball, because when you have the 3-3 tie, you need to get the 1 extra run to avoid, you need to get the 1 extra run to break the tie, obviously, for a team to win the game. So the 7 is very key in baseball. But this line has been moving down all morning, man. From 7, I saw it 7 juice to the under. When I grabbed it, it's now 6.5 juice to the over. I see a lot of play on the under. The public's on the under to the tune of 69% of the tickets, but 82% of the cash also on the under. I like the under in this one as my favorite play of the day. I think the pitching matchup is so good that I'm going with the under here. And this is also a situation where neither team played yesterday. Detroit, I believe, is returning home from a road trip. So you could see a situation where their hitters may be a little sluggish because they're returning home from a really good road trip, but they only lost 1 game all against other wild card foes here, wild card contenders. They swept Kansas City on the road as part of that bad Kansas City loss streak, and then they took 2 out of 3 against Baltimore. By the way, most of those games were not particularly high scoring either. I'll just point that out. Now they're returning home. They do have a day off, and that could, affect the hitter's timing a little bit when you have that extra day off. Tends to not be the greatest spot for the hitters. They have to kind of readjust again. can be a little bit of a distraction, although Detroit obviously cannot afford to be distracted as they are right in the middle of this wild card race. They're actually one game ahead of Minnesota and tied with Kansas City right now, so my mistake there. I don't know what else I was going to say about that. Oh, because both teams had yesterday off, it also was a situation where basically both will have their entire bullpens at their disposal today. So that's also good for the under. You have rested bullpens coming into this game, and both teams will be able to make use of those bullpens. So that's good as well for an under. And then, of course, I mean, look at the starting pitching matchup here, man. Ryan Pepio is pitching for Tampa Bay. Even though Tampa Bay, I mean, you might think they don't really have that much to play for. I've been saying that they know that they're out of it, but they're not technically eliminated, I don't think. I believe they're still in the wild card race here. They're right behind my Red Sox, even though I think it's both teams kind of know that they're on the verge of getting eliminated, but they're not technically eliminated yet, which actually might make them maybe a little bit looser because they're in that spot where they technically need to win, but they also probably know that they're eliminated, so maybe they won't play as tight. Ryan Pepio, I mean, just overall in the season, his numbers are quite good. 3.64 ERA, 1.13 whip. He's been pitching really well all season, man. 131 to 42 strikeout walk ratio is a nice ratio. In 121 innings pitched, that's a high strikeout rate as well. Only 95 hits allowed. He's been one of the less hittable pitchers in the league, basically. So he's been really good overall. And he's just continuing to do it. He's not wearing down. He's not really showing signs of it, even though he had some wildness in the San Diego game. But he still only allowed 3 runs in that game. And other than that, he's been pitching well. He's coming off a 12 strikeouts, 2-hit, 1-run performance in 6 innings against the Boston Red Sox. He's got a 3.86 ERA overall this month. Even though the 21 to 8 strikeout walk ratio, like I said, the 8 is high, but half of it came in that one start against San Diego. So I don't know if there's that much to take away from that, really. Over the course of the entire season, he's only allowed more than 4 earned runs twice, and one was in the opening game of the season against Texas, which I always say you're trying to get used to getting back into your rhythm, so you can kind of throw that opening day start out, basically, your first start of the season. You can just throw that out. And then he had one bad start at Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta mid-June, that was a good hitting Atlanta lineup when that happened. And he's been really good for a while. He has not allowed more than 3 earned runs in any start since that start. And he's allowed 2 or fewer in every game except that San Diego one. So he's been quite excellent. And up against Detroit's hitters, I mean, Detroit, their offense has kind of turned it on recently, but Pepio has been quite good against them in a 27 at-bat sample size. Only a 6.3 strikeout walk ratio, but he's held Detroit to a 148 batting average and 604 OPS over their careers in what is a somewhat small sample size, but it's spread out across most of their hitters. So Pepio has been good in his career against these hitters. And then on the other side, I mean, what is there really anything else to say with the fact that you have Tariq Skubal on the mound for Detroit? I still don't know how you pronounce his first name. Tarek? I don't know, but Skubal, he should throw a screwball, by the way. Skubal, the screwball pitcher. He does not, but he throws a really hard fastball and he throws nasty breaking stuff. And he's one of the best pitchers in baseball, and I still don't think he's even recognized as such. He's got a 17-4 win-loss record, although, of course, the win-loss record doesn't really matter. It's so dependent on how much offense you get behind you, but he's deserving of that. He's got a 2.48 ERA and .94 whip. I don't know what the Cy Young race looks like, but he should be in the running for it, man. I mean, his stats are so good this season. He's got 221 strikeouts, which I haven't looked. It may be the most in baseball. It's got to be up there. 221 to 34 strikeout walk ratio. He's thrown 185 innings, and he's throwing that hard. That strikeout rate is so high that you might expect him to wear down, but he's not that young anymore at this point. He's got a few seasons under his belt. He's 27 years old, and he's not showing any signs really of wearing down with a 2.16 ERA this month in 3 starts, 20 to 1 strikeout walk ratio. I mean, his numbers are basically obscene. Last month, 49 to 7 or 47 to 9 strikeout walk ratio, 3.05 ERA. So he's showing consistency. He's showing no signs of stopping, even though he's thrown a ton of innings pitched. Some of them, probably one of the highest innings pitch totals in baseball. That tells you he's going deep into games, and he's still pitching very effectively. He's only allowed 140 hits in that amount of innings, too. It's just insane. He's putting up ludicrous stats, and since this probably worst start of the season against Kansas City on August 2nd. He's allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in every start. And if you throw that White Sox start out where he gave up 3 earned runs, he's allowed 2 or fewer. Over the course of the entire season, he's allowed 4 or fewer in all other starts besides that Kansas City one. Just dominant stuff out of Skubal. And then against Tampa Bay, I mean, Tampa Bay is a weak offense, man. Detroit's offense is a bit better than Tampa's, but and Detroit's offense has been turning it on a little bit, but Tampa's offense is pretty weak. Tampa's offense, they only have 6 batters who have actually ever seen Skubal before, so they actually have a few hitters who haven't even seen him before. And the ones who have, it's a 24 at-bat sample size. They have no extra base hits off him. Only 3 hits, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk, and they've hit 125 off of him with a 285 OPS. I mean, that is one of the lowest opponent OPSs that you'll see from a starting pitcher against an entire opponent's lineup, even though, granted, it's a small sample size. But Skubal, I mean, there's nothing to dislike about this. So that's the one play today. I'm going under in that what is also, I think, the best pitching matchup on the board. Although I'm having to pay minus 120 to get the under 7 there. That's the baseball rundown, man. I think that's going to do it here. We got all baseball today. Of course, football is going to continue to go on. I'll be back with football talk the next couple days probably about whatever. We're probably going to have Thursday and Friday NFL and college football going on, and then whatever we'll talk about for Saturday and Sunday, the big football slates. And we'll be continuing to do baseball as we go, and I think we're like 2 weeks out from the NHL starting too, which I also do NHL. I wouldn't expect to have any NHL plays right away, like on the first day. I usually wait for like a week or so to jump into NHL until you start getting like good situational spots to come up in the NHL, but we will see because NHL preseason is in play right now, and it's right around the corner. You're going to have NHL, then you're going to have NBA starting in late October, and then I think college basketball starts in early November. It's going to get wild, man. I don't think baseball is going to overlap with all of that, though, so football will, but we'll have some packed slates to talk about, which I might have to start doing these videos at night to cram it all in. Have a good day, man. Thanks for hanging out. Dickie, thanks for hanging out in the chat, man. Thanks, guys. What's up, Pistolero? What's up, guys? Eric, thanks for hanging out, brother. Thanks for the support. Stacks, the slump continues. The slump began again last night with that Jacksonville play, man. You look like a genius on Sunday with the Denver play and the Carolina play, and then it all comes crashing down. That one play is going to have everybody calling me an idiot because Jacksonville sucked, but it's just one game, man, and it's easier to take because the game's over like so immediately. You're just like, well, I'm not going to win this one. I don't have to pay attention. If it was closer, you get like more pissed off about the close ones, man, especially the bad beats. So let's get this one play tonight. Let's get this baseball play, and let's get back on another good run because I made that run that I've been on recently was so good that I got back to within like 2 bets, I think, within like $600 of being even on the year. So I'm close to the break-even point, man. I think we can do it at this point. There are still a few months left. I just have to not have bad months down the stretch here, and I think I can actually turn this year into a slight winning year, hopefully. So let's do it. After 2 great years, the last 2 years, I don't want to have a losing year, man. But law of averages and just baseball throughout those couple months there was just really, really, really wrecking me. But I've turned it around in baseball as well. Have a good day, guys. Thanks for hanging out. And follow the Tower Gang Podcast, of course. Follow me, Tower Gang Toad, on Twitter, and go check out the Tower Gang Podcast. The most hilarious, offensive podcast on the planet. Wednesday nights, 9-11 p.m. You can find us streaming on all the things, and I put the episode up on all the things. I will miss tomorrow night's episode, but we do have a guest prepared for tomorrow night's episode that should be wild. You know who he is. Let's just say he's been in the spotlight recently, and I believe he is going to be on Tower Gang tomorrow. I don't want to miss it, but it is what it is. At least it's not a guest who's like a guy who I've never met before. Who I want to like if we had some awesome guests who I'd never met before, who we're having on, I had to miss that episode, I'd be like, oh God, no, please no. But at least that's not the case with this one. I know the guy, so I hope it's a great episode. It should be, and we'll just continue to do it, man. Sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/TowerGang. I will not comment. I will not say whether it is or it is not Jeremy Kaufman. Pistolero. Watch Tower Gang tomorrow. Sign up for the Patreon. Pistolero, I think, is a Patreon supporter, right? You're in the mailbag sometimes, I'm pretty sure. We got extra content, of course. Patreon.com/Tower Gang. Live post shows, live pre-shows, and we have a Telegram, which is now being infiltrated by the federal government, obviously, because the CEO got arrested or whatever. Now Telegram is having to open up like all of their information, I guess, or whatever. So don't incriminate yourselves in the Tower Gang Telegram. That's all I'll say about that. It's the TGTG, man. We can't get rid of that, right? Thanks for the support, Pistolero. All right. And anybody else, any of you other guys who are also Patreons that I missed, thanks, guys. Peace out. Have a good day.